leave. Thank you all for joining today. So yes, this is the beginning of my second term, and those of you that have heard me talk before know that I have 3 buckets, and my buckets are continuing. And those 3 buckets are membership, structure, and advocacy. And so every single day, try to do something that helps shore up all 3 buckets for GAE. We're very, very excited that last year, the membership year that ended August 31st, we are the only affiliate in NEA that experienced membership growth in all 4 categories of membership. So that is certified, ESPs, aspiring educators, and retired. Those are the 4 categories that are on the NEA membership report. And up through July, we were number 2 in membership growth for the year. But then July and August, as always, every summer, we have the people that fall off. We have the reconciliations that happen. So we fell from that down to number 11, but we were still the only affiliate that had that membership growth in all categories. And then I'm going to give you all a preview of the board hasn't seen this membership report yet, but I'm going to give you a preview. Karen, if I can share my screen, of what our membership looks like for this year as of September 1st. So you will see, and I'll slide over so we can see the ESPs. So for August 31st was the final day of 21-22, and there I see an error I need to go in and correct and put my 2 down here. So when all the new memberships for the summer rolled over, we have an increase in certified membership of 1,263. ESPs, we have an increase of 286. So that is a total of, I don't know, hard math real quick, 59. 1,559. So that, of course, we've got to find all our people that retired, etc. We know that's coming, but that is, we are starting there, and I'll show you just a moment another piece that I'm getting ready for the board that shows how that compares over the past few years.
And before you go to the, I wanted just to see the retired numbers.
Yeah, it's right there.
And is that because of the annual memberships rolling
Yes,
on?
ma'am, it is. When I did this yesterday, of course, our aspiring educators, we have to build that back up as well because they have some that join annually, not a lot. And you see, we're starting the year almost where we were last year. But for our retired, the decrease is the annual members. So that's one reason when we're recruiting active and ESP, we ask them to go on payroll deduction rather than credit card or something that we have to go back and recruit them every year. Well, you all have the same issue, that you have a decrease in your retired number because you have those people that pay annually, and they don't count until they pay their annual dues.
And so for those of you who are lifetime members, you paid your lifetime dues and you never paid anything else. But there are a group of retired members, as Lisa's saying, that it's now $60 per year that they're paying. And we have to go back and recruit them every year. And our GAE Vice President, Doris Glover, has joined us, and she's reaching out to those annual members to say, come back, join us again.
come back. So, but I'm very excited that even with those annual members, we are showing an increase in total membership. So, and I'm sure you all will recruit those annual members back. I anticipate that the aspiring ed number will be showing an increase probably by Friday, because Skylar and I went in yesterday and pulled the aspiring educator, and we're going to need to change that on here too. So I'm making myself some notes on the report. I need to fix 2 things. We have aspiring educators, of course, who are joining right now online because it's the beginning of the semester and they are entering their educator prep programs, or they are about to be starting student teaching. So we've had around 15 on September 1st and September 2nd who had joined online that we could see yesterday. And then I'm sure today we'll be able to see the ones over the weekend and yesterday. So I'm sure Skylar's number is going to be back above with an increase soon.
And for those of you who don't know, Skylar Nunley is the UNICEF director in charge of the Aspiring Educator Program, among other things. So we have a dedicated UD finally again that's taking care of aspiring educators.
Linda asked in the chat about higher education. Linda, higher education is one of those that Skylar is working with. And we did have an increase in that category for last year, but again, it is still a very small group. And so as wonderful as Skylar is, he can't do it all at one time. He has aspiring educator working really, really well this year. And now he's going to be starting the second category that he's assigned, which is early career educators. He's working on getting activities going for them. And then we will be doing higher ed. We do have, you all recall that we're at the RA this past year. There was a new business item that we write a grant about working with our higher ed membership. So we will be doing that. And the other thing I'm going to share with you, let me take a snapshot of this so I can make it big because it is kind of small. Is every Friday morning around 8:30. So I'm going to be awake and working every Friday morning around 8:30. Around 8:30 on Friday mornings, I get we get a membership report from NEA, which is it's a GAE report that we have automatically sent from NEA. And this report shows the locals. It does include higher ed, but it is active members only. So this does not include aspiring educators or retired. But one of the things that it shows is how many new members are in each local. And then it shows us a total for the state that is called new to local. So if somebody leaves Henry and goes to Gwinnett, they will show as a new to local member in Gwinnett. So they're not necessarily new for us at the state level, but they are new to that local. And at the state level, I consider that a plus because we didn't lose them when they transferred. So this is 2019-2020. Our total new to local for the year was 1,220. For 2020-2021, that number was 875. And you all recall fall of 2020, we were still in the pandemic and we had no new teacher orientations that fall that we were able to be there and meet new educators. Last year, For the full year that ended August 31st, we had 1,646 new to local members. And this year, just with new teacher orientation and the month of August, we already have, for this current year on September 1st, we had 1,571 new to local members. So we've already, through the summer and August, we're at 95% of what we did for the full year last year.
So people are getting the message that they need to re-up when they move to another district or another system.
Some of them are getting that message, but we are also, this is really because this summer, the month of July, we were able to go to many more new teacher orientations, and we were able to continue that recruiting over the summer and through August. We also were able to, now we have more of our UDs who are planning school visits and being in their schools so that GAE is more visible there. I will tell you my story from Dalton City. I went up and it was Monday, the last Monday in July, and I was the representative for GAE in Dalton City. And Dalton City, for those of you who don't know, is the school district where the executive director of that other organization was an administrator. He was the head of HR in Dalton City. And so he was there that day. And it was quite interesting, the questions he asked me. The one that I just kind of smiled to myself, he asked me how long I was going to be GAE president. And he asked several questions about our executive director and how long he was going to be here. So we know that we have been seeing membership increases all across the state, and made me feel good to know that they want to get rid of us, but we're not going anywhere. So, and then Tuesday I was in Whitfield and he was there again. And then Wednesday I was in Catoosa and he was there. And Catoosa was the county where we, GAE, recruited 10 new members while we were there. And we literally saw no one turn in an application for the other organizations. The people that were there, the new educators in Catoosa, were leaving at 11:30 to go to lunch. And we talked to them. They said, yeah, we're coming back. We have more training this afternoon. So GAE, we stayed. The other organizations had not gotten any members that morning and they packed up and left. So they didn't even bother to stay to try to talk to anyone as they returned from lunch. So that was our success for the summer with them. So membership is going very well. I'm very excited about the fact that once again, we are going to, I know, soon be showing growth in all of our membership categories again. We do have member organizers that there was training for this summer who are working in their buildings, and we're very excited about that. And member organizers who are helping us to recruit in the different buildings. One of the things that we have discovered is we do have some bulletin boards in lounges in schools that are dated, and some of them were more than a couple of years. I kind of understand, you know, if something hadn't changed 2020, 2021, things have been really challenging. But when you walk in and there is a 2016 to 2017 calendar, it's kind of old. So that's one of the things we're trying to make sure that we get an AR in every building, and that the ARs have the information they need. So that leads me to my second bucket, and that is structure. Very excited that in this bucket, Karen Solheim has worked very hard with us on the board to get our policies reviewed, revised, in some cases brought into the 20th century. And now kind of looking at our locals with that. One of the things that has not been happening, if you read our GAE Constitution, it says that our locals will be reviewed every 5 years to see if they meet the standards of affiliation. And that had not been happening. So last fall, the Constitution and Bylaws Committee met over a weekend, and we took every local that had 50 or more members and reviewed their constitutions. And so all local leaders have been sent twice. That copy of the Constitution that's on file, as well as the template and the checklist. That's not saying they have to follow the template, but it gives them something to work from if they need it. We do ask if you happen to be working with your local on this. We were very, very clear this time that locals are not supposed to take the template and write their name on it and adopt it and turn it in. We did have some locals that did that last time, that literally adopted a constitution with the directions still included. So hopefully that won't happen. But one of the things there is I've started working very hard with some of our locals who may not have had elections in a while, may not have officers. We had members from Grady County who were interested this past spring. Linda, you're going to love this about new locals coming to the RA. We haven't had anyone from Grady in a while, but we discovered when these members expressed their interest in attending, Grady only gets one delegate, and we had multiple members interested. And so they didn't have a president. And then we went, okay, we need to have an election to get some officers. So I went to the GAE files, and actually I didn't go to the files, but I need the Grady Constitution. And I get the message back, we don't have a constitution on file for the Grady County GAE unit. So that bumped them to the top of my list. I went last week, and they have 41 members currently, and we had 6 members attend a membership meeting. And those 6 members are going to work on a proposed constitution, and 3 of them have agreed to serve as an elections committee. So we will be electing officers, and they are working on their constitution, and we will have them back running. I want to thank Tariq is on here. Tariq was there with me. And I do have a list.
Tariq is another one of our
Tariq's one of our UDs. And I do have a list of the locals where someone has said to me, for example, Early County is one of those locals that this time last year, we had a meeting and they elected officers. And this April, the person who was elected president sent me an email and said, I can't be the president. What do I need to do? So there are several locals that are in that position that I'm going to be trying to work with throughout the fall and this year in assisting them on getting themselves up and running again. Two more things that are definitely in this bucket that are going to be happening once again because of new business items at our GAE-RA. We're working on continuing to have local presidents convenings at least quarterly and doing everything we can to encourage them to have their local meetings and be in compliance with their local constitutions. Obviously, we can't force a local president to hold a meeting, but members throughout the state have expressed concern that their locals aren't having meetings and that they don't know what's happening in their locals. The other thing that we are working on, and Mindy and I have been working on this the past 2 weeks, Nicholas has been doing a lot of work on it as well, my assistant. We have locals that have lost their IRS 501c6 tax exempt status. And you're used to hearing about 501c3s. Those are our charitable organizations that your donations are tax deductible. GAE and our affiliates are 501c6. And we have quite a list of affiliates who have lost that status and need to get it back. And what we are going to do with that is we're going to kind of group the locals into different categories. Thank goodness none of them are our large locals, because a large local that has more than $25,000 in dues each year would need to pay an accountant to help them do this. But our smaller locals that have less than $25,000 per year, it's a little bit easier process because the returns they must complete are much simpler. So we will be kind of grouping them based on their situations. If they are a kind of medium-sized local, they have officers in place, they're ready to move forward, we will put them in a group. And then if they are a smaller local that we don't have officers in place, obviously we've got to do those other things before we can deal with these issues. Just so you all know, your digital No magazine is going to be hitting your inbox a little bit later today, but this is the No magazine that everybody receives in the mail. So your paper copy will be coming soon. And that's one of the other things. I pulled out yesterday a No magazine from about 4 years ago to show one of our UniServe directors an article in that magazine. And actually, when I opened it, the article that I wanted to show them was about a group of our bus driver members in Barrow County. And as I looked at that magazine, the only thing in the magazine that was about Georgia and GAE members was that one article. So I'm very excited that we have been able to revamp our No magazine, and you will be reading about a lot of Georgia members, GAE members, and what is happening here in Georgia.
And one of the plus sides in the No magazine is GAE-Retired usually has 2 to 4 pages in the No magazine. So we appreciate that.
Yes. And I will ask you if you know someone. We try to have at least a one-page article about members, 2 to 3 members each magazine. We've highlighted our members who have been nominated for NEA awards, etc. But if you know a member and you're like, Lisa, this is somebody everybody needs to know about, please send me an email, tell me who they are and what they're doing. That is so exciting, because I know our members are doing that all across the state. I know they are. So, okay, Patrick said, could something similar happen with small GAE locals? No. GAE locals did used to fall under GAE, and when GAE filed the 990, it included all the small locals. The IRS will not allow that anymore. However, something that we could do with our small locals is we can, part of the problem and how this falls through the cracks is if we actually looked this up for one local that I was working with last week. The treasurer of the local lived in a different county, and the treasurer of the local put their home address as the address for the local. Because think about it, unless you're a local with an office, and we have very few of those, you don't have an address. So one thing we can do is encourage our smaller locals to use the Tucker GAE address as their address, so that if we get in the position that we have a new treasurer, the new treasurer doesn't know what they're supposed to be doing, and it doesn't happen, when the letter comes, it won't be going to that old treasurer who may or may not live there anymore, who may or may not know the new treasurer, who may or may not pay attention. It would come to GAE, and then we could get it to the appropriate person. And that's something Mindy and I have talked about, that, you know, we may be able to help locals in that manner, that they use our address, we can help them file, you know, and then for the very, very small locals, if they are in compliance, that, you know, we can make sure that they remain in compliance. Literally, for our smaller locals, it takes 15 minutes for them to do the e-postcard tax form. Basically, they're entering the name of the organization, the EIN number. They're checking a box that they had less than 25,000, and they're entering an address. That's all it is. It is very simple to complete once they are in compliance each year. So we can help the small locals in that way. That's what we're working on this year. Continuing to work on the constitutions and just continuing to try to get some more locals activated. If you were at the spring RA, our yay story from last year that I'm very excited about is Glenn County. Dr. Carter and I went down for their new teacher orientation last August, and surprised the president, the vice president, and they have really, they increased their membership over 25% this year. They now have new officers, and they are moving forward. For the first time in a very, very long time, they had a delegate to the NEA-RA. They had delegates at the GAE-RA, and they are, I went back down for their new teacher orientation this year again, and they had all 4 of their officers there. They have a new officer team, and they are moving. So we want to replicate that in some other areas. And that's my structure bucket. And then the next thing is advocacy. And I hope everyone saw our endorsements for both statewide and Georgia General Assembly. They are all in your Know magazine. The committee worked very long hours. The committee spent about 40 hours across 2 weekends doing the interviews for the candidates. We interviewed every candidate that responded statewide, and the candidates that were endorsed truly are those candidates who will support public education and have a history, if they have a history in the legislature, which many of the candidates who are running for other positions do, of supporting public education. The Georgia General Assembly, we have quite a few of those endorsed candidates who we are endorsing because they are friends, but in some cases they do not have opposition. So the FPE, our contributions to candidates this year is very targeted, and we are targeting those areas where we can make a difference. We have, through an NEA grant, we have money that we are doing a Get Out the Vote program. Right now we have about 25 or 26 members who are participating in that program. Patrick is one of them. I spent last Saturday sitting beside Patrick at our action in Albany. We had about 6 members there, and we are endorsing Joyce Barlow for the Georgia House in that area. She is running against an incumbent who has not voted in support of public education. So we were making phone calls for her and texts, and that group will be working up through the election in different areas. Joyce Barlow was the first targeted candidate that we were there, and we will also be supporting the targeted candidates with digital ads and mailers. So those will all be going out, not just to our members, but also to community members, saying that these are the candidates that will support public education. We will be having a Get Out the Vote rally on, looking at a calendar, Sunday, November 6th. And more information will be coming about that soon. And that is going to be an in-person event that we will be doing. And at that meeting on the 6th, we will be reaching out to all our members who have not yet voted to encourage them to vote on election day. Upcoming legislative things. I have discovered that the legislative definition of summer is not the same definition that you or I have of summer. So I think their definition of summer means right before we go back for the next legislative session. We have 2 specific education study committees that were quote meeting over the summer. The first one, the Senate Committee on Education Funding Mechanisms, held their first meeting August. August 19th, and that was a Friday. And the meeting was from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. here in Atlanta at the Capitol. they have scheduled their second and third meeting for September 16th. That is also a Friday, and that one is going to be from 2 to 4 in Savannah. And their final meeting is October 21st, and it's going to be later in Columbus, because I said to the chair of the committee, you realize these are being held from 2 to 4 in the afternoon on Fridays when educators are in their classrooms or on their buses. So he said that they would have a hearing at a later time, but it wouldn't be at like 7 o'clock, because he had to think about the safety of the committee members driving back home. So he said probably 3 to 5. Maybe if you teach at an elementary school around the corner from where the meeting's being held in Savannah, you can get there before 5 if you get out at 3 or 3:30. So it's pretty obvious that they do not want to hear from educators. So we do have currently, and we would invite you as retired educators to respond. We do have where we are asking people to send input for this committee. The Georgia Budget and Policy Institute has a side group called Fund Georgia's Future. And so at the last meeting, they really had a strong push from them and from young people for adding a poverty weight to our funding formula. We all know QBE is from the 80s, and QBE does not take into consideration students who live in poverty, come from low income areas. And there are 6 states that do not consider that in their funding formula, and Georgia's one of them. And we heard a lot about school buses and the fact that the school buses are in some cases quite old, because Georgia no longer provides funding through QBE for transportation. And then obviously, if you think about something that is not included in the formula, when QBE was written in the mid 1980s, I'll date myself here, I was in high school then. And I remember my math teacher, Miss Wilson, was the first teacher in the building to have a computer in the classroom. And it was a big deal that Miss Wilson had this computer, and it was actually on a rolling cart. And so it could be rolled to somebody else's classroom if she wanted to show them something. So obviously technology and devices, etc., was not and is not included in the funding formula for QBE. So we all know that our school systems must have devices and technology now. We know a lot of them have used the ARP and the other COVID relief funds to purchase devices for students, and in some cases hotspots. But let's think about that. Those devices, we all know a device is good at maximum of 4 to 5 years. And then schools are going to need new devices. We also know how rough some of our students can be with devices. So we do need that funding in the formula. Next Thursday, the other committee that was supposed to meet over the summer, and I was told June and July, will be meeting, and they have one meeting scheduled, and that is, Karen, are you popping? Nope, not, yes, this one. The Senate Retirement Subcommittee is going to meet on the PSERS. And if you're not familiar with that, because you're not in it, PSERS is the Public Schools Employee Retirement System. And that system is the retirement system for our cafeteria workers, bus drivers, and custodians. And it is completely inadequate for anyone to retire. As of July 1st, if you are retired through the system and you worked 30 years, your monthly pension is $480. And there is no way anyone can retire and live, even survive on $480 per month. So this is the system. They are holding a hearing about this system. We do not have an agenda yet, but that is definitely one. We have a cute little graphic that we're asking our cafeteria workers and bus drivers and custodians to provide input about that system. And I will tell you that, yes, that's it. Most of the input I've received back so far has been, they don't want to improve PSERS. They want all education employees to be moved into TRS. So that's something that we will, we know that is what our members want, but we'll have to be looking and seeing how feasible that is and if it is feasible for our systems. So there are pretty strong rumblings that should our endorsed candidate Stacey Abrams win, that we can expect a special session of the legislature to be called at the end of November. So should that happen, we will be paying very close attention to what comes there. And also that's, to me, another reason we need to ensure that we do elect our endorsed candidate, so that we can have leadership that is focused on all of Georgians and not just a small group. I can tell you that it was very obvious, sine die, that there was a small minority who was pushing their agenda, and it became the agenda at the legislature, and that was very disheartening to see. So hopefully we can get more educators speaking up. Gonna go February 23rd is GAE Day at the Capitol. And we really need everybody to go ahead and put that on your calendar and plan to be there so that we can have a strong presence. And we will also, once again, one of the advocacy things, we are going to be doing a lot, again, working with the legislative contact team and working once again to identify a member who lives in every single legislative district who will be that contact, and that we know when something comes out that that person is going to be contacting their legislators. And I think that's kind of what I have. Tell y'all about everything that's going on. February 7th is GAE-Retired Day at the Capitol, and February 23rd is GAE Day at the Capitol. And we will be having the what was I saying? The legislative contact team we will be having in December a Saturday workshop for that. And then I know we'll be joining GAE Retired for Lobby and Learn right before the session begins. And we are also going to be working advocacy GPOEP, which is a federal issue, but it is something that directly impacts our members in Georgia. We did have a meeting last week with a gentleman from Senator Warnock's office, John Herbach, and Senator Warnock has signed on the bill for in the Senate. The bill in the House has enough sponsors that it could be moving forward. Don't understand why it isn't. And it will be, if HR 82 does not move forward, then in January with the new Congress, we will be starting over. So we will have to be getting everybody to sign back on to a new bill. There are currently 40 sponsors for the Senate version. So that's kind of where we need to look now. We have a majority of the House that had signed on, and now we need to look to the Senate. And that's something else that we will be reaching out to all of our Georgia legislators, all of our members of Congress from Georgia, particularly between now and Election Day, if they have not yet signed on, and asking them to do so. So that's what I have. Let me see if we've got, Karen's putting questions.
Well, I'm just.
You're putting
commenting on-
information. I was looking to see if we had any questions. Any more questions?
Are there spots still open on the legislative contact team? You need-
Always, always, always.
So that does include retired members.
It does
being able-
include retired, and what I have done for that is I start obviously with the board and local presidents, and then any members who have attended anything legislative, and I just keep adding. So if you were not receiving those emails and that information last year, and you are interested, shoot me an email and say, add me to the legislative contact team.
And Lisa's always really good about putting her contact information.
Yep,
before
and I will
doing-
put my email and my phone number in the chat.
So what do you need? I'll ask my questions. Anybody else can ask too, is what do you need, want, have the vision for GAE Retired?
I want GAE Retired to continue to do what you all have done with us. And that is, y'all have those shirts, GAE Retired paved the way, and you all have always paved the way for us. I'm so excited that Linda Smith's newest grant that she's written is working with our early career educators. That's really where I can tell you that our early career educators, once they get involved, they are so excited, and they truly, we have a lot of new educators who want to move us forward and want us to be that advocate that they feel like they need in the classroom or on their bus. And that's kind of what we're going to have to do, is bring them in. And as, our retired have always done, give them the training, give them the support so that they can do more for us. And the other thing we are working on right now is we did put money in the budget for an all committee weekend. It's probably not going to be a weekend. We're going to have to start small this year, and hopefully repurpose some of the money we won't be spending for another training, because weekends. We were trying to do it in Atlanta, and Nicholas told me yesterday that the 2 weekends we had identified, there is no hotel in the Atlanta area that can accommodate us with a group and what we need for rooms. So we are going to make it work. But it will probably be just one Saturday instead of the weekends, so that all our committees can meet. And that's something that we want some moving forward, really, to get back to having our committees actually meeting and our GAE committees doing something moving forward. They all met last year, but all of them did not necessarily have something come out of those meetings, and that's what we want moving forward, that they are actually doing something and we have something coming from those meetings.
Does anyone have a burning question you would like to ask Lisa, that you've always wanted to ask?
Yeah.
Don't ask her what her favorite football team is.
They all know that one.
Okay. I would be remiss if I didn't say, in my humble opinion, Lisa Morgan is one of the most hard-working, on-point presidents that we have had in a long time. She is not afraid to roll up her sleeves, have 10 pads of different colored Post-its notes where she can write things and transfer. And I mean, she is, I think, working for, by and large, with some windows of self-care, easily 6 days a week, if not more. And there is time for Saturday football. We have to put that in the mix. Patrick, you have your hand up.
I do. I want to make a statement more than a question, and it goes back to Linda's grant.
Well, Patrick,
no,
Linda's,
I'm going to talk to Lisa. It's directing Lisa.
well,
about engaging the young kids. The latest data, Lisa, is that in the last election, the youth vote was equivalent to the regular vote. So it had really gone up. So I just want to say I applaud you and Craig for really going after the young people, because that's what's going to make a difference in this upcoming election. That's what I was going to say. I wasn't going to steal Linda's thunder. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
Your favorite team, Texas A&M Giga Maggies, right?
I'm muting you now, Patrick. I love you. I also would be remiss if I didn't have our executive director, Craig Carter. And I always want to say new, because it seems like you just got here also. Has it been a year, Craig?
A year and 4 months. Can you believe it?
I cannot. Yeah. And this is Dr. Craig Carter, our executive director. And you can see he is working throughout the meeting. So Craig, any thoughts you want to share before we close out?
Thanks, Karen. I apologize that I didn't get to be here for the whole meeting. I was in meetings all this morning. I know you were in good hands with Lisa, and I just am so proud to work with our GAE-Retired. You all make such a difference, and I was glad, Patrick, you brought up what you brought up, and Karen and Linda with the grant Lisa was talking about. I was just working on my board report for our board of directors, just with our numbers and our GAE aspiring educators, Karen. It's so exciting. We have, as of today, 1,934 new GAE aspiring educator members. Compared to this time last year, we had 740. So our programs, under the direction of our governance and President Morgan, and then with the help of you all retired, and with our staff, we're really, really booming, and that's exciting. The the high analysis of GAE now, you know, we had a previously declining 10 years of membership in all categories. Membership in all categories are growing substantially. You know, the past year we saw our first net increases were coming up to this year compared to last year, 538. That was about a 45% increase in recruitment last year. And we're seeing that even record breaking and going higher this year. For the first year, for this year alone, GAE recruitment to date, I pulled some August numbers preparing for the September rollover. We were already up close to 95% over last year's record-breaking recruitment, which is exciting. This year, I have a 300 club, a 200 club, and a 100 club with staff. We have 2 UniServe directors, Stephen Murray and Wanda Lynn, already each having 300 new members each in their respective locals. Our 200 club, Mark Perez has 200 new members in his region, and Cavius Preston, a former board of director member, is our new UniServe director in the Savannah Chatham area. He has over 200 members and is part of that 200 club. And then in our 100 club, I think I saw Tariq Watson on here. Tariq has 100 new members in his respective area. Rachel Blankenship in the north has over 100 new members. Taya Donald, DeKalb, Decatur, she has over 100 new members. And then Karen Jones has over 100 new members in her area. And if we broke out the others, Felicia Lee has 78 in her area. Michael Sears has 87 new members in their area. So staff's been working extra hard. We have a new map that's come out and our locals. We had a few adjustments to that. One of the new adjustments is Stephen Murray has been given Atlanta Public Schools. So we're really excited. So our retired Linda Smith and Patrick Crabtree, we plan to put you all to work with Mr. Murray and us as we do a blitz in Atlanta Public Schools to get their membership back up. But it is so exciting, a really exciting time for GAE with over 3,400 new members this year for back to school recruitment. So President Morgan and I are on the edge of our seats with NEA to see if we get that #1 spot, #1 in the nation with membership recruitment compared to last year. So thank you all for all that you're doing, and those of you that helped and assisted with back to school events, because membership is everyone's job, right? We don't have an association. You heard me preach that many a times. We don't have an association if we don't have members, right? We don't have anyone to serve. So GAE is definitely being put on the national map. We have 2 brand new fellows through the NEA Fellow Program this year. Justin Johnson will be working with Karen Jones as his mentor and working in Clayton County schools to help boost their membership and learn the ins and outs and the roles and responsibilities of a UniServe director. And then we have Miss Tanya Reddick. Miss Reddick was an AR building rep in Richmond County Schools, and her mentor will be Wanda Lynn. So she'll be doing a lot of work in Muskogee County School District to get their membership up even higher. So some exciting things happening with GAE. And as always, whatever I can do to support Retired and help you out, we're here. And I want to thank you all for all that you all do for GAE. And echoing President Morgan, you all have paved the way. You have set the footsteps in motion. GAE would not be GAE today if it wasn't for our retired. So I'm so blessed and so thankful to work for you all as well. Let me know. I have an open door policy. Let me know if you ever need anything. And I think I'm looking forward to meeting with you all on my schedule next week at 2 o'clock on the 15th. So thanks again, Karen.
Thank you, Craig. I appreciate you. As we close out for today, I'm just going to share just a few announcements. If you didn't get the last issue of our In the Loop newsletter, send me an email and let me make sure you are subscribed. But as Lisa started out, we do have our state school superintendent candidate and current state school superintendent on Facebook Live this evening, and there's information about how to join that, wearing your red for ed on Wednesdays. And scrolling down, we are having a business meeting that's Zoomed on September 16th. So I hope you will join us for that. And the last thing I want to share is, and I'm sorry I'm going a little bit quickly, we will have the ODE retired meeting on September 27th, and Linda Wolf-Smith will be the speaker there. And our next virtual lunch bunch, we have them on the first Wednesdays of the month. You get to meet Jeff Hubbard in his role as NEA director. He will have attended Super Week in DC at the end of September. So he's going to bring us a federal legislation update, including the GPO WEP. So lots of exciting things coming on. Linda, do you have something more you'd like to share about the grant?
Yes, I would. None of this would be possible if the direction of our president, Lisa, with Craig, have come to build it back again, what we used to be. We aren't there totally yet, but we are so far along than what we were. But last year we had this grant that dealt with advocacy and getting seniors to the polls, and that was done mostly through the absentee ballot process. Right now, we have on order 5,000 cards that will be distributed statewide. This set of cards will be sent to some of you so you can distribute them in your neighborhoods, in your, by hand to your family, to your friends, to your beauty shops, to people that you know. And on that card, it's going to have all of the important dates that will be on there. And then we have another set of cards that will be mailed to each individual member to remind them, so that they will know that what we're doing and that we're always on their side. The new grant could not be possible without the support of the executive director and the president. And they've given us their overwhelming support of this new grant. And it is called The Wind Beneath Our Wings, because that's what I see the young educators and also those that are between 25 and 30-year retirement in terms of what lessons can be learned together from each group. And I have envisioned them, Craig, to get to that Liberty Center in front of the Georgia State Capitol, and it's going to be called the Sound Off. I haven't presented it yet, but that's where I want the young people to get up and tell their stories about what it means to teach or not teach critical race theory. What does it mean to want to leave the profession you thought you were born to be in? So I think we're going to get a big push from that. And each event that the young people will have, hopefully there will be some retired there to listen and give our input, and let's work together to get this done. But thanks to Karen, who is the tweaker in chief, for always never saying no. And also for Atlanta, Craig, I see Doris Glover. She's a former president of AAE. Rosa Drayton was a powerful membership recruiter. There's Martha Plowden, also with AAE. So, and there's Patrick. So we are there, and we will do whatever it is within our power to do. So call on us if we need you. And thanks so much, Karen, and everybody.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you for all your innovative ideas and hard work. And we will hear about the grant at the end of October as far as its funding, or at least by the end of October. And we have our fingers crossed again that will be funded. We've gone slightly over our time, and life will go on. And I hope you all have a great day, and hope to see you this evening for Facebook Live with President Morgan, who will have made a trip to Athens in the meantime. So be safe, everyone, be well, and thank you so much for attending today. Have a great afternoon. Hope to see you next month. Bye-bye.